In recent years, Rockstar has been heavily criticized for losing their identity, endless repetitions, and a drop in the quality of their projects. The Definitive Edition trilogy alone is a perfect example. It was made half-assed, essentially handed over to a third-party studio with basically zero oversight. Then there is the incredibly boring port of the first Red Dead Redemption, not to mention the GTA 6 delay. But let's assume all of that is just management and leadership problems that could be fixed if they really tried. Still, to me it feels like over the years Rockstar has lost something much bigger, their inventiveness and creativity. And that's not something you can get back just by pulling yourself together. Just like you can't get Dan Houser back by simply calling him and asking him to return. Today's Rockstar is in no way comparable to the Rockstar of 2000s, when the games had a vibe you could directly compare to the movies of that time. People roughly 30 and older probably share the same nostalgic attitude toward the studio's early works. Yet, even with how undeniably cool those games are, I honestly can say that the early titles, and I mostly mean GTA, ever truly amazed me back then. Yes, they were good, but they lacked the depth that many other projects of the time had. To be honest, the original Mafia stuck with me and immersed me in its story much more than Vice City did, the same year release. The Rockstar games that actually make me nostalgic are completely different ones. The ones where they really tried, approached development creatively and offered something bigger than just comical characters, an empty plot and 20 minutes of non-stop shooting at cops, expecting shit to change. Honestly, I don't like GTA series and especially GTA 5, because it completely killed off all other Rockstar series. Red Dead Redemption with its beautifully crafted world, wildlife and hundreds of tiny details, Bully with its very interesting concept of the life of a not so well off schoolboy, or as I call Bully, how Hogwarts Legacy should have looked and played. As well as Manhunt, Midnight Club and any series that could have appeared but won't anymore. But most importantly, GTA 5 killed the GTA series itself. Why make new games when you can develop your own Roblox analog for the youngest kids? I don't know why, but the investors and shareholders know even less. But what went wrong starting with the release of GTA 5? A lot of things, but the main one is that Rockstar stopped making games like they used to, often and interestingly, and switched to a format of releasing games every couple of years. I mean every 5-6 years. And if you look at the flagship series, essentially one game every 12-13 years. But what do we get in return? Better graphics for waiting 10 years? Detailed bubbles in beer and mountain of references to freaks from Miami for the delight of soyboy fans? Somehow that doesn't entice at all, because years go by, the company's resources are poured into graphics almost identical to reality, but somehow there are no resources to surprise or improve the gameplay. Even the undoubtedly magnificent Red Dead Redemption 2 lets you literally go off in any direction and do whatever you feel like, but only until you get to a story quest. At that moment you immediately get clamped in the vice of scripts and have to forget about all that freedom you had literally a couple minutes ago. And for what? For cinematic staging and graphics that look like just real life? Well, for that you can just step outside. Even in the old first Mafia, which I have already mentioned, you could shoot out the tires on the target's car so it couldn't get away. But that's a pretty well known fact, so let's take GTA 3 as an example. Though GTA 3 wasn't some pinnacle of non-linearity, the open world and the integration of missions into it allowed for finding a unique solution to eliminate targets in some missions. For example, taking out the target from a vantage point without even approaching or mining Lee Chon's car. Can you do something like that in GTA 5 or Red Dead Redemption 2? No, you can't, because then you wouldn't see that very important scripted chase or shot out scene, and you wouldn't hear that very important dialogue in that very important and absolutely non-secondary plot. What are we even talking about if the hated by everyone Mafia 3 far surpasses both GTA and Red Dead Redemption in terms of world and missions variability, and I honestly don't know how to insult the game more strongly. Alright, that's a joke, but Mafia 3 really does outpace Rockstar's new projects in terms of world openness and missions, which is actually pretty hilarious. I won't even start on the story, since anything is better than the Houser brothers' writing, even the Gingerbread Man fairy tale. GTA literally exists as a parasite series. It sucks mechanics out of other projects and implements them in a very crooked, simplified way into itself, while killing the donor game of that mechanic in the process. Stealth from Manhunt moved to San Andreas, the heroes of GTA 3 and Vice City were very primitive, but CJ already became a jack of all trades. Shooting from Max Payne 3 transitioned to GTA 5 with Michael's slow-mo, the shooting dynamics even settled into RDR 2, mini-games and social connections from Bully. Rockstar copied the shell but not the essence. In Max Payne 3, encounter design and smart opponent placement. In GTA 5, just hordes of enemies like in Red Dead Redemption, where Arthur mows down crowds, which dissonates with the unhurried rhythm. A western needs tactical, thoughtful fights where duel is the culmination, but instead we got a simplified mechanic from Max, and hurricane action that doesn't convey that very feeling from westerns, where every fight for the hero is a trial. But what I really think is the problem with all Rockstar games, and no, it's not ludonarrative dissonance, where we can rope and blow up entire game world and then just go about our business, since hey, it's just a game. The problem is something else. It's the endless peeling up of mechanics that are mindlessly copied over and over from other studio games and just inserted to exist. GTA has a huge number of minigames. In RDR 2 you can manage the camp, hunt, eat, clean weapons and so on and so forth, but none of it's needed to complete the game. I often hear that Hello Games devs add tons of content with every update that doesn't develop the game at all. Just expand it horizontally. But unlike Rockstar projects, in No Man's Sky you at least need to use those mechanics to develop your character and reach the game's final goal. In GTA and RDR there's no need to use any of the dozen of mechanics polished down to the last screw, and they don't affect the game or the character in any way. And indeed, in Rockstar's old games there were those very beginnings of tying gameplay mechanics together. In Bully the main character Jimmy would get tired, and to rest he needed to sleep, unexpectedly. And come morning you had to either go to classes or skip them and do other additional activities. But constantly skipping classes wasn't a good idea either, because it was precisely in classes where you could learn about new items for use, like how to make a stink bomb. That way the game sort of nudged you to go to classes where you got new items, and it was easier to get through other moments in the game. Day planning first of all immersed you more in the game, forcing you to get into the role of a schoolboy, and second gave something meaningfulness to your actions. In San Andreas there was a weight loss and gain system. CJ could stuff himself with burgers at Clock and Bell and turn into a faster who can barely run, but is a bit stronger in fights or on the contrary walk out at the gym, becoming a bodybuilder with super stamina and speed. Of course, it didn't turn the gameplay upside down, but it really affected it. Made you watch what you eat and eat it all. Otherwise, in missions with chases or fight, you might not run into any special difficulties, but it still be either harder or easier for you. In Red Dead Redemption 2, even if you are sick, weak, hungry and sleep deprived, you can just down a cup of coffee and start racing around the state while carving up the population of some small town. Then bowl off the side, sit in the bushes and there you go. Everything fine and you an honest, upstanding citizen again. Yeah, in Bully you couldn't chuck an energy drink and wipe out half of the school. But if you started acting aggressively, sooner or later a teacher would catch you and you'd have to take part in a mini-game mowing the lawn to work off your bad behavior. That's it. Even the minigames, unlike in GTA and Red Dead Redemption, were not in the game just to add something that could be chopped into endless shorts, but as a logical continuation of your actions. Early gameplay details in the games were interesting and justified gameplay-wise. Today they are only needed for yet another video of 100 small details you didn't notice. And you didn't notice them only because, if you remove them, nothing changed from a gameplay perspective. Rockstar nowadays puts emphasis not on depth, but on throwing dust in the eyes, beer bubbles in a bottle and their reflection on the countertop. Instead of creating worlds where every action has weight and consequences, they build giant sandboxes stuffed with useless details that have zero gameplay backing. Take GTA Online, it's nothing but an endless money squeezing machine. Launched in 2013, and since the Rockstar has done nothing except add new cars, planes, businesses and heists. Why? So fans keep buying shark cards. Dig a little deeper and it's just a grind for the sake of grind. Level up, buy property to grind even more and repeat in a circle. No soul, no story, poor mobile game style grind. And this is from the studio that once made Manhunt, where every step was pure tension and survival depended on your wits, not on how many resources you'd farm. In Manhunt, going loud or trying to brute force an enemy almost always ended badly. Remember Midnight Club? A racing series with the real cities and dynamic tracks. Rockstar just abandoned it. Why bother developing it when you can show racing into GTA and turn it into one of 100 minigames? In GTA 5 you can do street races, but it's not racing, it's a parody. Cars fly through the air, arcade physics and no deep turning or strategy mechanics. In Midnight Club, you can actually feel the car, plan roads, view through traffic. In GTA, just another pointless grind activity. Same story with everything, they take an idea, squeeze every drop of juice out of it for GTA, and the original series dies in the archives. Bully could have become a whole franchise about different stages of life. College with a bigger yet still compact and detailed city map, but nah, better to dump more grind into GTA Online or throw in a couple minigames and that's all. Now about Red Dead Redemption 2. Yes, it's a masterpiece in terms of world detail and atmosphere. You can spend hours wandering forest and hunting animals, but the moment the story mission starts, everything instantly goes on scripted rails. Arthur Morgan, this deep character with moral dilemmas, suddenly turns into a puppet. Go here, shoot these guys right after that one. Zero freedom in missions. Step off the script and its mission failed. Even imitators like Watch Dogs give you way more approaches. Even GTA San Andreas let you improvise on some quests. Not in RDR2. Everything is done for the sake of pure cinema. But movies are a passive experience, games are supposed to be interactive. Why make me participate in scripted cutscenes with the illusion of free movement when I want to actually play and feel like I'm in a real western? Rockstar confused immersion with passivity. They think hundreds of tiny details equal immersion, and for a while it actually works. Until you step aside. In the end, the games are gorgeous but hollow. Another issue is the humor and satire. In the 2000s, Vice City parodied the 80s with the stereotypes and neon. San Andreas mocked Ganta culture and racism. But in GTA, it all developed into cheap trash. Joke about freaks, memes, and endless pop culture references. The peak is the absolutely flat and completely undeveloped throughout the entire plot, Trevor, a caricature of psychopaths made just for the lols. The Hauser brothers wrote scripts like for blockbusters, but forgot that in games the story has to intervene with the gameplay. The plot and gameplay in GTA 5 and RDR 2 live in completely different worlds and don't intersect with each other at all. Interesting features of gameplay mechanics can be in the plot, but at the same time be absent in the open world of the game, and not intersect with it in any way. In Bully, the plot and humor were organic. All the school pranks, fight with bullies, romances with girls, it all fit into the mechanics and made the game alive. But what about GTA 6? Maybe they'll put it all together into the perfect cocktail there. Fix all the mistakes and tie the plot and gameplay together? Honestly, I really doubt it. Everyone's waiting for a miracle, a huge city, a ton of new mechanics and unprecedented world detail. But judging by the trailers, sure, it will be there, but not in the way I'm personally hoping for. I think Rockstar will just make graphics almost identical to real life, a bunch of world details that won't be tied to gameplay in any way, but will fit YouTube clippers for years to come, while the missions and plot remain detached from the main games as scripted enclosures. They promise an evolution of the open world, but what does it even mean? Even more minigames that no one will complete? In-game social networks where you post selfies? Rockstar has lost courage to experiment. They are afraid to take risks now because GTA is a gold mine. Investors want steady income, not creativity. So GTA 6 will most likely be beautiful and predictable. Grinding online, scripted missions and a ton of DLC for squeezing out cash. In the end, why don't I like GTA? Because it's a symbol of Rockstar's decline. They could have been a studio that changed the industry, like in the 2000s, with a diversity of series and ideas. But they became a factory producing one franchise where everything is subordinated to graphics and monetization. Other studios like CD Projekt with The Witcher show how to make deep worlds with choices and consequences, or even Ubisoft with Watch Dogs, especially the third part. Yeah, there is pulling up there too, but at least the series evolves. Rockstar doesn't experiment with anything anymore. If they don't return to creativity, non-linearity and diverse mechanics instead of hundreds of meaningless details, GTA will remain candy in a pretty wrapper, but with dry and unmemorable feeling. And it's a real pity, because they had huge potential. But apparently beer bubbles are more important. And most importantly, remember, this is just your opinion, and if you like GTA 5, what, you are 13?